think I'm basically a fair-minded person and getting very indignant about people who are done down by them what thinks they knows better. So it solves that need in me to be law-abiding and fair play and all that sort of stuff.
So in the rest of your life you can be as
miserable as you like.
Hello, welcome to Beneath the Page, the podcast about books and the writers behind them. I'm Sophie Beal.
And I'm Steve Couch, and we're joined today, our guest is Carol Cole, who is the author of the Callum McLean series of crime fiction novels, which sets a Glaswegian detective in the heart of the New Forest. Carol, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me.
It's lovely to have you. Am I right in thinking that once upon a time in the past you applied to join the police?
That's right. When I left school, I decided I wanted to get into forensics, and at that time, that was a leg of the actual police force.
Right.
And now it's outsourced. But they did have a height requirement, and despite piling all my hair on top of my head, they were slightly more clever than that, and I failed.
Well, I mean, I suppose we should be glad if the police could be fooled by something like that. It wouldn't instill confidence in their ability to crack the trickier crimes.
True.
So, can you tell us a bit about your writing journey? How did you start?
Well, I've always scribbled, if you like. Nothing terribly productive, like we all do when we're at school or whatever. And then it very much took a back seat because I married a farmer, which turned out isn't a job, it's a lifestyle.
Yeah.
Yes.
So that was a 7-day-a-week job. They didn't tell me this before I said I do. It was a 7-day-a-week job, 52 weeks a year, and you don't tend to get enough little gaps of time where you can switch off and apply your mind to something else. Yeah. And I'm the sort of writer who doesn't function when somebody says, you've got 20 minutes, oh good, I'll write a chapter. That's not enough for me. I need to sort of get everything else out of my brain first. So I didn't really do anything productive apart from the odd article for the farming press and things like that, which I did a few of, until we retired. When we stopped farming, I acquired an office all to me. And started writing then with purpose.
Yes.
And were the books that we now have the first thing that you started, or?
No, I wrote a couple of truly atrocious first novels, which deserved to be binned. And then I've always been interested in crime. I like crime. I like what makes people do crimes. So I sort of sidestepped, if you like, into working my way through a crime. I like puzzles. I've always done crosswords and Sudokus and kukurus and all those sorts of things. So it's a puzzle solving sort of process.
Yes.
So that's why I think crimes intrigued me. And if you want to play the good guy, then you have to solve the crimes as opposed to being the bad guy who perpetrating them.
So, do you see any other advantages of detective fiction? Does it allow you to do anything else that you couldn't do, say, in fantasy?
Yeah, I think I'm basically a fair-minded person and getting very indignant about people who are done down by them what thinks they knows better. So it solves that need in me to be law-abiding and fair play and all that sort of stuff.
So in the rest of your life you can be as
miserable as you like.
And crooked as you like.
Probably, in fact, possibly all crime writers are suppressed perpetrators of really poor crime, but we stay the right side of the law by putting it on the page and then feel sanctimonious afterwards.
Although I understand you all have very dodgy Google histories.
Oh yes, always clear your Google searches on a Friday afternoon.
Now your novels, yours are police procedurals. What in particular drew you to that rather than crime more broadly?
I like the single viewpoint. They're all through my detective's eyes, so it's easier to keep abreast of what's happening if everything that happens is seen or heard by my detective.
Yes. We were discussing with another author on another episode, and he was saying that he suspects that readers don't really like multi-perspective novels, that we prefer to be just going through with a single perspective.
I think multi-purpose novels are good if you get a large enough chunk of text with one person.
Yeah.
I find it very difficult when I'm reading if we're hopping around within one chapter.
Yes.
I think it's much simpler for my poor little brain if we have one chapter from character A and another one from character B, and then go back to character, that sort of thing.
Yes.
But it's more difficult to keep a handle on it when it's sort of jumping around all over the place, I think.
One of the things that struck me reading the books is it felt right, it felt believable that this was how the police would go about tackling these kind of crimes. How do you go about plotting a book with that kind of structure? I mean, I'm presuming you've not got any direct first-hand experience of how the police go about investigating a murder.
Well, I think the thing to remember at the back of your mind when you're doing it, and perhaps when you're reading it, is this is not a manual for the police. This is an act of or work of fiction.
Yes.
So as long as it's plausible in the reader's mind, then they read on uninterrupted. I think it's hard to sometimes not be overwhelmed by the amount of things you must make sure are correct.
Yeah.
You have them walking in from the car park, but you don't have to say they've pressed the correct 8-button sequence for today's code for the, things are taken as read.
Yes.
So I think because of that, and because people are hopefully reading forward to find out what's happened, then they will read on and don't get bogged down. You do get the odd policeman who offers a comment, but not often.
Are they generally positive about how you've depicted them?
Yes, I haven't had anyone telling me that I should get another job or anything like that.
Phew.
Too late for that, too wrong.
I understand Ian Rankin got almost arrested and charged with murder because he went into a police station asking for advice.
Yeah.
And they thought, and it just happened that he'd... Have you heard this story?
Yes.
I've not.
No.
Do go on.
No, do carry on.
No. He had this idea for a murder, and it just happened that a murder had been committed along very similar lines, and the police thought
Can't be a coincidence.
So they took him into an interview room and basically said, "So go on, tell us how you think this would go." He was a chief suspect for a long for not a long time, but for some time.
Wow, there's a book in that.
Yes.
Race you to it.
Friend Gary will tell you that there was somebody who, a crime writer, who was stupid enough to commit a murder exactly as she'd written it.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm.
So her whole career was building up to getting rid of her husband or whoever.
Something like that. I can't remember what it was. So what was the germ of the idea for your first novel, Murder in the New Forest?
Well, it started with somebody falling off a horse, as simple as that. I've ridden in the forest for years, and we fall off quite a bit. And I just suddenly thought one day, well, as she's laying there with her head in the heather, supposing she didn't just fall off.
Did you help her at all? No.
Oh, I held the horse.
Oh, that's good of you.
Caught it so she didn't have to walk home.
What more did she
That
do?
helped.
You just got your notebook out and writing ideas down.
Hang on a second. Yeah, no, I didn't. So yeah, that's really how it started. Yes. And then I thought, well, quite often things look very simple until you dig a little further below the surface.
Yes.
And then perhaps they're not as obvious as they seem.
Tell us about your detective, Callum McLean. I really like him.
He's a Scot.
Yes, I love that bit.
Do you?
Oh, yes.
Hi.
I know I'm married to an Englishman, but I've got something. There's something about a man with a Scottish accent.
Something about a man with his knees showing, isn't there?
It's so true. Scottish weddings are the best.
Yeah, he's a Scot. He was a policeman in Glasgow, and his wife unexpectedly dropped dead of a heart attack, which you do find out by the end of the book. That was a spoiler, sorry. Ooh. But when everyone was so intent, as he's quite a youngish man, he's in his early 30s, of looking after him and taking him out to meet people. In fact, he thinks he's met every single woman in Glasgow. So he decided that, fresh start, he was going to move as far away from Scotland as possible.
Yes.
And that was the first available job that came up that he thought would suit him. He just omitted to take into account that he's frightened of horses, which is a slight drawback. He's not that keen on animals in general, but he's coming round by book 4.
Yes.
And it sort of his dislike of those kind of animals sort of distracts him from his grief a bit, doesn't it?
It's his fear more than anything
Yes.
else. Sort of the largest animal he comes across is a pet's rabbit sort of thing, or a dog, and we all know what police dogs are like, temperament-wise. So he's a bit, scared of livestock in general. So the bigger they get, the worse they are.
His grief is one of the defining things of the character, certainly in the first book and still in the second book.
Yeah.
Is it fair to say that to some extent Callum is running away from his past?
He's running away from the connections. He was still living in the same flat.
Yeah.
The wind will move the curtains and he'll look and he'll think, she's standing in the doorway. Bits and pieces around the flat, her beads hanging on the side of a mirror in the bedroom. It's very hard, I think, if you've been bereaved and you need to move on. But it stopped him going forward. It stopped him having the sort of relationship he did have with his work colleagues and his 3 sisters and his parents. It was holding him back.
That brings me on to something else I wanted to ask. He's very secretive, isn't the right word, but very private with his new colleagues. Is that something that's just an outworking of his grief, or is that the man that he was beforehand?
That's a defence. I think he was more outgoing before.
Right.
His Glasgow work colleagues have been intruding into his private life. Come on, get yourself together, let's go down the pub for a jar, that sort of thing. And he doesn't want to, he's not ready. So internalising things and keeping them at elbow's length is the way it's become a defensive wall.
Yeah.
I don't want to let them get too close, they'll know how badly I hurt. So it's quite a gradual process for him to loosen up and allow some kind of rapport with them.
Then in the second book, in Straw in the Wind, his past is haunting him in a different way. The main investigation is a missing person case with a child. Callum is haunted by a previous case from his time in Scotland.
No, it must be, as a working policeman, the things that you must have to try and put behind you must be difficult. And also, you must see connections that aren't necessarily there. If you've been in a situation where A changed to B, changed to C, and then he killed her, every time you get from A and it changes to B, it must trigger something in your brain, and you must always be second-guessing, trying to work out if you should be doing something else. It must be a horrible job to be a policeman.
And I thought you captured that, especially in the second book. The weight he was carrying with him was I thought you captured that really well.
There are things for the good, obviously, that you can also carry forward. So I think it's getting a balance between the pressure of the past.
And it's set in the New Forest. A lot of people haven't been there, and
they're missing out.
Well, I remember the first time I went as a child being very surprised that there weren't very many trees. Could you explain what the New Forest is? Tell us a bit about it.
It's about 200 square miles of open heathland, lawns, which is sort of grassy areas, and plantations of trees. Most of those are fenced, the plantations, to keep the livestock out. In 10 whatever it was, William the Conqueror came over and decided he was going to have that as his personal hunting ground. Basically said, if you live there you can have certain rights amongst 5 which are still acknowledged, and if not, you're not going to stay here. I'm going to use it as a hunting ground. So he did. It was wooded a lot more extensively than it is now, but I understand a lot of the trees were chopped down for things like building ships for the Armada and all that sort of thing, because they were oak in a lot of oak. And the people that were still living there and still maintain commoners' rights have the freedom to graze stock. So all the wild ponies you see are all owned by somebody.
Oh, are they? Oh,
Yes.
I didn't know that.
No, it's a managed environment. The ponies are all owned by somebody, and if you have a look at them all, they're all branded.
Oh.
They have a brand stamped on them.
Oh, right.
Each individual
I just
owner
thought
has
that
a
they were a
different
bit
brand.
like birds, like they could just
Come and go.
come and go.
No, they tend to only stay within about a mile radius.
Oh,
They call it a haunt.
So
or
they're
group
not
of
actually
ponies.
wild ponies.
Oh, they are wild. You go up behind one, you'll find out they're wild. But they're managed in that once a year they're brought in and they're checked. This is usually after the foals have been born in the autumn. They're brought in. Some are taken off the forest then and sold at Beal Road sales.
Right.
They all have their tail clip. There are different areas of the forest and
Yes.
they all have a different tail clip. Then they're checked for their feet and they're wormed and then they go back out on the forest untouched theoretically until this time next year.
How interesting.
And in as much as, I'm certainly speaking for myself, I suspect so as well, we didn't know most of that. Callum is even more ignorant to all of that when he arrives in the New Forest. And on day one in the job, he's thrown straight into a murder investigation.
Yeah.
Very much before he's found his feet.
Involving horses.
Involving horses, yes.
And then his sergeant rides up on a horse.
Yes.
He's not having a good day, is he, basically?
The second book, Straw in the Wind, he's more settled, but he's still very much the new boy in transition with his new life. How do you see Callum's relationship with the New Forest evolving as the series goes on?
By the time we get to book 4, he's well entrenched and he knows lots of things now, and he's starting to have a local's eye for things. As we know, he's an artist.
Yes.
He does a lot of painting and sketching. He doesn't write a diary as most people might record a diary. He does a sketch every day because it beats having to write down long words he couldn't spell when he was a child.
Where did that character detail come from?
Well, he's got 3 older sisters, and every summer he would spend part of his summer holiday with his grandparents, and every day his grandpa would, at the end of the day, sit and do a sketch of what he'd done in the day. And it was a habit that he passed on to Callum, who, as a young lad, hated having to write anything, and he couldn't spell words, and then he'd have to reconstruct something so he didn't have to put in the words he couldn't spell. So it was a godsend for him. It was a saviour. It's a connection with his grandparents, who he was very close to.
That makes sense of where it comes from for Callum. But where did you get the idea for that? Where did that come from?
I can't spell either. No, seriously. I do draw.
Right.
I paint, and because of that, the colours and things like that are important to me. I see things differently from my husband when he looks at the same scene, because I'm working in colour, if you like, and he's just looking at the scene. So I gave Callum the hobby of drawing because it's a hobby that I know a little about, and because of that, he starts to see the forest differently. He's always looking at the difference in colour, the sort of the grey thumb smudge, if you're using charcoal or colour pencils, which is the horizon. He sees things through his hobby medium, if you like, and he then gradually, over time, he's very entrenched in the colours, the changing seasons, how it's evolving.
But I guess it's a good trait for a detective to be noticing things.
Observationally critical.
Yeah. You mentioned Daisy, Callum's DS, who makes her entry to the book on horseback. And I love the dynamic between Callum as the outsider who knows nothing about where he is when we first meet him, and Daisy, who seems to know every person, every horse, every dog in the locality. What do you think your books have got to say about that kind of tight-knit community where everybody knows everybody's business and there's a lot of interconnectivity with people?
I think there's a security in that sort of environment, and I think it's more difficult for people to perpetrate crimes because there's always somebody watching you or whatever.
And yet the crimes still happen.
Yeah. And I think there's a close-knit sort of connection between lots of the people, but on lots of different levels.
Yes.
And I think that's something Callum hasn't come across before. He's been a small fish in a big pond. in a huge city like Glasgow, and this is a real culture shock for him, where everybody knows you when you walk through. Oh, it's him, you know. And I think that's something that he finds is a really big shock.
Yes, he's quite black and white in the way he sees things, and boundaries are really difficult when you know everybody, aren't they? Especially Daisy. She seems quite chummy with a lot of the suspects.
She does, which is slightly concerning for him. He doesn't really want a very sympathetic DS when he's trying to arrest somebody for a crime. Oh, poor man. Yeah, I mean, they have a good working rapport because she knows everything that's going on and how it functions, whereas he is very much an outsider. He might as well be on Mars half of the time. It really is a culture shock for him. So she's quite valuable in giving the reader and Callum information, rather than having to sit and lecture the reader.
Yes. Callum is Glaswegian, as we've just said. What difference do you think that makes to the books? Would it be the same if he was from somewhere like Liverpool or Newcastle?
I think that he could come from anywhere else in the UK and he would still find it a culture shock to move to a small village if he had lived in a big city, and also how things are different in the New Forest. Like there are laws in the New Forest that the verderers enforce, which he is surprised at because he thought he was in charge of the law, but there are forest laws which are different.
See, I didn't know that when reading the book. That was a new discovery for me.
So yeah, it's a new discovery for him too. So I don't think it's as much the fact that he's a Glaswegian, other than the fact that the caution is different in Scotland, I understand. So he's had to he has criminals who've heard it more times than he has when he's delivering it. But I think it's just the fact that he's a townie and he hasn't had contact with such a rural environment, and people function differently when there are more priorities that are animal related than there are perhaps in the middle of Liverpool or Glasgow or Newcastle.
What we wanted to know, because we've both got our own connections with Scotland. I lived in Glasgow for 5 years. Do you have any personal connection with Glasgow?
My dad was a Scot.
Oh, was he? Is that where he came from?
He came from Lanarkshire, from Airdrie.
Oh, yes, which is like the home counties of Glasgow.
Absolutely. So I have a connection with Scotland.
And I lived in Stirling for 4 years. So at the end of Callum's first encounter with Daisy, they go to get in his car, and when he turns the engine on, his stereo comes on, and it was playing a song from a Corinne Polwart CD. And the first line that Daisy hears
is "Hey Daisy darling."
Hey Daisy darling. Sophie's laughing because I'll always pick up on the musical details in authors' books.
That's a great CD. You should listen to it. I like music as well.
Yeah.
I have a past to some extent with a very eclectic taste in music, and that's one of the artists that I particularly like, who is Scottish folk and the like. So it was in my memory, if you like. It was in my repertoire to pull out and use. It
was a nice moment. Callum is the superior officer, but you can tell that he feels very much not superior in that moment, and it's put him on the wrong foot.
Yeah.
And that was a nice stage in developing their working relationship.
Yeah.
So we've got a lot of characters who have less than ideal parenting in your first book. And we also have a lot of authority figures who haven't got a lot of integrity as well.
I think to a large extent that can be representative of society. I don't know what a perfect parent is.
No.
Struggling with that one.
Yes, me too.
So, and how do you judge what a perfect parent is? Is it the results?
Yes.
In your product that you've produced, or what? And when do you judge that? 20 years on, 40 years on, 60 years on?
But there's a lot of children and adult children who seem to have been, to a greater or lesser extent, neglected by one or both parents, especially in Straw in the Wind.
Yes.
Children who are abandoned and in danger. It just seemed to be a recurring thing throughout both books.
I didn't think I consciously did that. I think it may be a reflection of the society I was raised in, maybe, or the society I witness. But I think it's a part of society.
Yes, it's not. Well, you can't help reflecting your life experience. Can
That's
you?
true, and I think if you think about something, let's take something that's not relevant, cruelty to animals.
Yes.
Some people won't see cruelty in some things, other people will.
Yes.
So it's a comment on the person who's seeing it.
I noticed this with that bird that was on its way out anyway.
Oh, yes.
And is it Rose?
Yes.
Breaks its neck.
Yes.
Particularly Callum is very shocked.
Yes.
But it looked like an act of
Mercy.
mercy to me.
But then if you know that birds often fly into like windows, don't clean your windows. Birds fly into windows.
That's why I don't do it.
Absolutely, my defence also. And stun themselves when they hit the ground. They look dead. They just lay there.
Yeah.
But if you pick them up and just give them a few moments in the dark, then they'll recover and fly away. That was a knee-jerk reaction for her. She picked it up and just twisted its neck.
I mean, there's also the sense that you're writing crime novels, so you need people doing bad things.
Yeah.
If everybody's lovely, there's no crime, and you've not got a career.
Yeah, if you're writing a romance, you wouldn't need to bring so much nefarious things into it, would you?
Yeah, moving back to Callum and his team, I really enjoyed the dynamic that the team had, and it felt like a well-drawn collection of individuals that you could see how they work together. How did you go about building that team as a writer?
Well, initially I did a little, what's Callum like? What does he think? Etc., etc. And then I wanted to complement him by having Daisy as a total opposite.
Yes.
He's a morbid misery and she's anything but.
Yeah.
And also she's quite young to be a sergeant, so we needed someone older to balance it. So I've put Bird in there because of his background and his very wide breadth of where he's been in the world and what he's seen and what he's heard, and he's not easily fooled. He's seen it all. And then that was quite a placid team. And then we had Legs in, who is Nigerian. Legs was my difficult to miss character, in as much as you just had to say red trousers and we all thought that's Legs. And then we needed to stir it up a bit, so we had Cookie.
Yes.
And some lady wrote to me on the back of having read it and said, "Thank you so much for putting my son in a book."
I did enjoy the moments of irritation that Bird in particular had with Cookie. And just those little moments really made it feel like a believable team, not just everybody's jolly and getting on together. But they work well together.
Once they're all heading in the same direction, they're hard to keep up with. Once there's not a lot on, it can be quite irritating in the office, I think. Cookie particularly.
Other than Callum, was there anyone in the team that became a particular favourite for you as you're writing them?
Cookie.
Yeah, that's what I thought. I thought Hundy P.
Yeah, Hundro P. I like Bird as a character.
Yes.
Because I think he's well measured. And I would like Bird myself if I met him.
Yes.
I'm not sure that I would tolerate Cookie if I met him for long. But he's quite a catalyst.
Yeah.
He produces responses within the other members of the team. And he gets things going.
Yes.
And he's got the sort of brain that leapfrogs around madly. So and everybody's just so used to it. They just sort of, for goodness sake.
Yeah.
But because of that, he can make snap connections that we can say, don't be ridiculous. Oh, hang on a minute.
Yes.
So he's actually quite good at finding the way through.
He probably deserves his own series himself.
Do you reckon?
Yeah.
If somebody doesn't murder him first.
I think Straw in the Wind, the second book, it's clear that Callum has started to trust his team and they have started to trust him, but he's still in the process of shaping the team to be clear on what he expects from them and what he wants from them. Have you got a long-term plan for how that team dynamic is going to change?
Yes, that will evolve. Things will change within that team. We'll lose somebody and we're actually going to gain another officer.
Adding any new person in to a group,
it's like putting salt into boiling potatoes. It puts it off the boil.
And I understand book 3 is on its way.
It is. Book 3, which we've got a working title of Killer in the New Forest, is due to come out later this summer. I haven't got an exact publication date yet. That's set in God's Hill, near Fordingbridge, and we have a murder victim who appears to have been run over whilst Gymkhana meeting's going on in the village hall there. But all isn't quite as it seems. So.
Sounds like Callum is once again exposed to horses.
He is, and he really isn't that happy about it because he has just moved house. When we begin book 3, he's surrounded by boxes with the removal name all over them, thinking, I've booked out a few days off. I'm in no hurry to really unpack many of these. I've got the kettle, what more do I want? And then Daisy phones.
Yeah.
I think I need you, Gov.
Very quickly, where can people find you online?
I have a website.
Excellent. Do you like to give the address?
It's carolcoleauthor.com, and obviously on Amazon.
Yep.
If you just Google my name or Murder in the New Forest, it'll find you the book and the rest of, or you can purchase it in any bookshop as well.
Fantastic.
Brilliant.
And libraries, of course.
Well, thank you so much for coming.
Thank you so much for inviting me. It's been great talking.
It's been
Lovely to have you, Carol.
Thank you.
I'm just disappointed you didn't come on horse. It seems to me that with crime fiction in particular,
Yep.
two of the biggest factors in making a book work are the setting and the main character. And in Carol's books, you've got really interesting things in both of those places.
Yes, definitely, particularly the setting.
Yes.
I can't believe how much I learnt about the New Forest. Particularly about the ponies.
Yes. You were taken by that, weren't you?
I really was. I think I assumed they were like rabbits or, yeah. I thought they were just beasts of the field that just roamed at large. And I really didn't realise that they were owned by people. I've got to be honest, I haven't thought a lot about it. maybe
but
the logistics.
You will now.
I will now, yes.
Yeah, but I thought it was really interesting hearing how Carol's background in the New Forest informed what she was writing, and
Yes.
and even although she's never lived in Scotland, how her Scottish roots
Yes.
fed into creating Callum.
Yes, yeah. I'd really enjoyed the Scottish part of
Yes.
the novel, of course, because
Yeah, both of us have a weakness for that.
yes, yeah.
But yeah. So thank you for listening to the podcast, watching the podcast, especially those bits of it that had full video. If you have got this far, then either you must really like us or you must be very lacking in motivation to hit the stop button. Either way, thank you for staying with us all this time. Please do like, subscribe, follow us, whatever medium you're watching on, and please do check out some of our other episodes. And we'll be back in another 2 weeks with more.
Thank you, and goodbye.
Bye-bye.